Good morning. So we have a coffee talk for you guys. I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Lyon.
And our coffee.
Yeah, and coffee. We have a good topic for you today. So today we're going to talk about interns and best attributes of interns. And I want to preface this by saying the reason we talk about interns a lot, and the reason we talk about interns a lot is because we were there at their level, and we want to see them succeed. And we see their passion, and so when we make things for them to watch or whatever, it's because it's like we want them to succeed and hopefully get there quicker than we did, because we know all the struggles. So
we've been there a lot of times, and so it's like, look, we know the mistakes we've made, and this I think is going to be part one of, because there's a lot of attributes and skills and stuff that are good for interns, but we were kind of talking about, if you boil them down, what are maybe the two most important ones. So we're going to kind of go over the two most important ones, and then there's going to be a lot of other ones that we're going to go to too. So I think this will be a ongoing.
Yeah, it probably will, especially as we encounter new interns with new, I don't want to call them issues, but personalities.
Yeah.
So let's start with Mark. Mark, what do you think is a very important attribute for an intern to have?
Okay, so mine is probably going to be working hard. Like, there's a lot of maybe deficiencies that I have that I've overcome by just working hard. Like, you've seen that little deal about things that don't cost you anything to do, and it's like showing up early, staying late, working hard, stuff like that. So it's like, hey, you don't have to be the smartest, brightest, most athletic person to just put in some effort. And the other thing I think is sometimes we forget, and I think I do the same thing. I'm guilty of this. I forget of all the hours that I put into getting to the level that I am, and I think, I remember the things I learned. Mm-hmm. But I remember all the hours that I spent refining and honing to get to that level. So I think just working hard and embracing hey, this is going to be a process. It's going to take some work.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell them that all the time. Like, do it 5,000 more times. 'Cause I don't think it's talked about enough that, like, knowing it, we all know how to write our name. Now do it with your other hand. Now do it with your foot. Like, if you don't practice it with that body part, you can't do it, but you know how to do it. And so a lot of people, you see it on the internet, they have the knowledge, and they don't back it up with the hours of practice. Like, they want me to teach them how to rope. I'll show you, but if you don't go home, and I don't want to, like, I'll say it like this: if you don't go home and beat your head against the wall for a while, you don't figure out how to do it smoothly. I had Dan show me. We're at Dan James right now, and I had him show me how to do the figure 8 whip crack yesterday, and I'm mostly just watching his hand and his motion, because if I can understand that, I can go home and do it until I can make it happen, because I've learned enough things. I'm aware it's going to take hours. Like, I didn't even care if I got it in front of him, and he was like coaching me, and I'm like, nah, it's fine, I'll go home and get it. He's like, I've seen it now, I understand I was doing a little too much, and now that I saw he's just doing this, I can do it. And so those hours are important.
Yeah. And I think when we watch somebody do something, we get the biggest level of abstraction observed first. Like, we see, he's holding his hand like this and this and this and this. And you almost need to videotape it and then practice a little bit and then videotape yourself, watch him and go, oh, okay, so the hand is pretty good, but the timing is significantly different, and so on. You just go back and forth, and it takes a lot of time. Like, I know how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
And now I can ride a unicycle a little bit. But when I was first learning, they told me, well, based on physics, here's how you keep the and I was like, oh, I understand. I understand the physics of how that works. And go get on and do it. Oh, yeah. Like, It's like, don't you? Yes, I understand how it works. And I'm just getting your body to do it as quick and as fast and at the right moment that it needs to.
Yeah.
Well, that's way more difficult.
Yeah, horse training is a lot like that. I mean,
Yeah. Okay, so what's yours? So
Okay.
putting work into it.
yeah, hard work. We
Yeah.
all want a hard-working intern.
Yeah.
That helps a lot. For me, and I've found this being around several different interns, a good attitude. That is such a big one because I've been around some with a bad attitude and I'm just over it in a hurry. Like, I don't care how much skill you have, if you have a bad attitude and you can't find it in yourself to say, good morning. Like, I know that's hard sometimes. Like, I wake up grumpy too. I get it. It's tough. But it's hard to get around certain people because it feels like, I call them a stick in the mud. Like, they're just stuck. And, you know, if
Debbie
you.
Downer.
Yeah, and it's just like.
Debbie wasn't her name though, but we'll call her.
Yeah. And so if you just have a good attitude when you show up and you seem happy and willing, and then you pair that with hard work, and I'll say, hopefully our intern doesn't watch this because, you know, I don't want her to get too big of a head, but we have a good one right now. She has a great attitude. She's a really hard worker. What I like about her is she's already had a job in the real world, and people who haven't had a job and don't understand what it's like to show up day in and day out and make not a lot of money, they kind of come from just going to school and being with mom and dad, and then they just haven't reached the point to get a job. They're a little tough because it's their first job and they don't understand how work works. And at our job, you get to work and learn and be with horses and meet cool people and opportunities. The longer you're here, the opportunities just keep rolling in to be in really awesome situations. So if you have a good attitude, I'm going to keep you around a lot longer, and the longer you stay, the more opportunities you're going to get that I can't even predict. You never know what's coming down the pipe. Like, you know, Mark's going to go to Germany and Africa, and, you know, if I've got an intern that wants to go and then I got a new one coming in, like, hey, he might charge you. I pay interns, he charges them, but, you know, his
That's why I don't
deal,
keep them very long.
his deal's a lot more like a school, where mine's more like, you know, working at home. He travels, so he spends a lot of time actively teaching, where I feel like I set up a situation for a person to learn over a long period of time. Like, I'm not, every day I'm not going to sit you down and give you a lesson, but there's horses there every day and I'm going to work with them, and you can watch, and then I'll give you horses to teach things to. Normally one of our first is the mounting block. Like, almost anyone can teach that. So
Yeah.
I trust you, and I know if you mess that one up, I can fix it pretty quick. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's like, and really, you know, we're talking about, you know, the hard work and education. I think we have very good intern programs, but almost opposite in the way we do it. Like, you're more like, hey, I'm going to help you 30 minutes a day. I'm going to teach you 30 minutes a day, and then I'm going to let you work on what I've taught you, or practice the things that I've taught you the rest of the 10 hours that you're awake.
Or the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. Like, you
Until
think
you
you
get it
got
right.
it? Yeah, 3 hours later you think you got it? I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Show me. That's not. You're halfway there. And then my program is way more on education. I teach them a lot, and then I go, now you're going to have to go somewhere, not with me.
Yeah.
You're going to go somewhere else, and you're going to practice that a lot. So, you know, I think, you know, mine's more like a school, and yours is more like an internship, where you, like an apprenticeship, where you're like, hey, this is, you know, you're doing welding or whatever, and you're like, oh, what do you do today? I swept the floor, picked up the stick ends that they dropped, and I did this, and I got to ask 2 questions, and then the next day it's like, well, I got to turn the machine up a little bit down.
That is the part I talk about with the opportunity. When opportunity is normally born out of necessity. As my interns get to do more, it's because I have to have them do. Like, I'm in a situation, like right now, our intern's name is Hannah. She's at home, and she's getting to work a few horses. And one of them, I mean, it's probably a $30,000 or $50,000 yearling getting halter broken. I'll put a couple days on it. I told the owner, say, this is the situation. If you want my intern to work with it, and she started Mustangs, and they said, yeah. And so, you know, I think it's cool to work. It's a hashtags baby with a really good mom, and it's like, I think it's really cool to work with that horse. So what an opportunity for her to teach that horse a few things while we're gone. And if I was home, I would be doing most of it. She would do a little bit, but this week I'm not home, so she gets to do even more. And then she's in charge. I don't know what that feels like to her, but she's literally running the show at home, and it's mostly just taking care of everything. But then she's got her own horse to train, that baby, and I think 1 or 2 of our personal horses she's working with. So that's getting her ready to be a trainer. And like you said, she's got to practice things. Practicing when nobody's watching is really important. And when I'm there, sometimes the interns aren't freed up enough to use their brain and do it. They want to fall back. Well, did you see that? Well, what about this? Well, what? No, like go do a session with a horse and then assess it, and then tomorrow do it. And then when I get back next week and I say, how's this? And it sucks, you're going to do it a little different next time. You're going to be like, I should have X, Y, Z. And so this opportunity for her is really good. Nobody's there, and that's what you need. Whether you intern and go home and do it, or like we're gone and you can do it at our house, or we're watching. But it's a lot of like years have to go by. To me, to grow as a person, years have to go by. Whether you're working for me or Dan or Mark, or you're at home in the trenches getting business off of Facebook or whatever.
You know, I've seen so many posts. Broke horses aren't made in 30 days. It's over years. Well, horse trainers are the same. Like you're not gonna go to a famous, great horse trainer, and 6 months later, guess what? Mini version. No, it's years of practice and stuff. And I'd say I love your deal about the attitude, because I've always loved working with horses, and I wanted to be a cowboy, and got to do it now, so it's good. But I took cut-in pay when I quit my real job. Like I could make way more money being a welder, foreman on a construction site. So, if I'm going to make less money than I could, it better be fun.
Yeah, you better like it. Yeah.
Working, if you're not having fun, if you're not in, and it's not all going to be fun. Sometimes it's work, and it kind of sucks. But if you have a good attitude, it makes it way better. And I'm like, look, I like my job, and if you don't like your job, you shouldn't be here. So if you can't have fun and have a good attitude, like go find, and maybe that person that you're working for just doesn't click with you, and maybe you need to find another one. But if your attitude isn't good, it's going to show up in your work. You're not going to do as it's
going to show up in your firing. Well, and I will say this, the biggest thing I run into is after most interns are excited for 6 to 8 weeks, and then they go, I'm just not learning anything, and I want to do this, and then they look on Facebook and they get FOMO. Well, they're doing this, and these people are doing that, and my old friends just bought a new truck. And well, here's the thing, even when you go to college doesn't feel like learning. They think learning is going to feel like something. It feels like work. When you're in college, you know what you want to do? Get out of college. You want to be done. Because it feels like work. Most of the time when you learn something, it doesn't hit you till years later. When you're watching other people that can't do what you do, and you realize, I learned that when I was interning here, or I learned that when I was working there. And if you can find a spot where they pay you, and that's why we pay a little bit, because we like people to stay longer and kind of, if they can, eventually fall into an assistant trainer role, so I can get them a few horses to start at my house. And guess what? I'm a safety net. You go to start a horse and it's not going good, you're going to feel bad. First, you're going to blame yourself. And I might say, look, it's probably the horse. That one probably needs to get x-rays of this or that. Or I'm going to say, well, you're doing this wrong, and do that. And so I can be a safety net. And so that's why I try to pay mine, so they can stay long enough to maybe hit a few bumps on the way with me there to help them. And
training wheels are good.
Yeah, but it doesn't, there's no feeling for learning.
It prevents a lot of skin knees.
Oh, yeah. So
you need something. You need that.
Yeah.
And I think I was just thinking about that. Then when you get on your own, and really, most trainers I know never get out on their own. Yeah. Like, I mean, people say, "Oh, you're out on your own." And guess what? When we have a problem, hey, Joe, I got this horse. Hey Dan, you know that thing we were, I got this thing, and what do you think?
Have you ever had one that did that? What did you do? I sent it back to the owner. Okay, that's what I wanted to do, but
good to know.
I didn't know if maybe there was
magic thing I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're still, even when we're out on our own doing our thing, we still have little, if you run into a spot or something's not going right, we go, hey, would you take a look at this? And I see Rainers do it all the time. They'll call somebody, hey, I got this horse and he's not doing, and they'll ride over there with them for a day or two or whatever, and they'll go, oh yeah, if I was me, I'd just do this a little bit different or do that a little bit different. So the more, especially when you're younger, those training wheels, work with somebody or under somebody where you won't make as much money now, but you'll make way more later because your skill set gets better and
the people you get to meet.
Yeah.
Like when we're traveling with you, like the people they get to meet.
Yeah.
That's going to help later. Well, we've run out of time here. It's been good. Coffee talk this morning to help interns and hopefully even just people who own horses to understand this is a process for the horses and for ourselves, and we're never done. Like we're here for Road to the Horse. I was learning, like I was watching, because I'll watch Road to the Horse and I'll think that'll never work, and then it works, or I'll watch and think that's gonna work great, and then that horse it doesn't work with, and it's like, okay, I have to assess that and decide why that might have happened that way.
Although I will say, our predictions were pretty good. Like there was, yes, there were one or two times where I was like, I don't think that horse smart enough to figure that out because I'm not really sure what he was asking. I think it was this, and the horse figured it out, and I was like, that dang horse is way smarter than I thought he was. But for the majority of it, we made some predictions. Hey, I think this is what's going to happen here. I think this is what's going to happen tomorrow. I think this horse tomorrow. I think this is what that horse is going to come out like. And most of the time, like 95% of the time, we were right. We're like, hey, I think this is how it's going to shake out. I think this is what's going to happen. And
well, and we've started enough colts to understand and watch that competition enough to understand there's things you've got to do. I'm not going to say much more. One day we might just have to talk about Road to the Horse, but it was good to watch. We were learning, we were guessing, and the reason we guess is to check. We guess, we say, hey, this is what I think. Well, this is what I agree, but I also think this. Oh, yeah, and then we get to watch and say, were we right or wrong? And we don't have to be the guy out there making the mistake. So we put ourselves mentally in the situation. How would I work through it? And then we can decide later if we think it would have worked. That way, if they call us and they need a guy out there to train a horse in front of the public, we're as ready as we can be. So.
And there's always more than one way to, it's like, there's a lot of roads you can take to get to Rome. So, just because, we would have done it a little bit different doesn't mean that way it's not going to work. It might not work as well, or maybe with our skill set, we think this way is better for us and our program and our customers. So,
and we appreciate success. Just because it's different than us, hey, if they get it done, we're like, hats off. Like, hey, good job. That was nice. So, all right, thanks, Mark, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in for this coffee talk.